Welcome back. On today's episode, we're going to be making an MBTI and Enneagram analysis on Jeremiah Fink, who is a secondary antagonist of BioShock Infinite. Before we continue, I'd like to give you a spoiler warning. We're going to be going through a lot of details of Jeremiah Fink's life and why he does things and the actions that happen in the game. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you play the game. Alright, so we're going to be starting off with his backstory. Not much is known about his birth, but what is known is that he's one of the founding fathers of Colombia. Fink gained a massive empire through persuasive monopolization and through his close ties with Zachary Hill Comstock. His wealth knew no bounds, and in no time he had the police force in his pocket. Comstock noticed Fink's increasing influence and hired him to accidentally get rid of the Lutesses. His reward would be the ownership of Lutesses' patents, and we all know Fink is a very greedy man, so he went for it. We'll continue the rest of the story in his dominant function. His dominant function is extroverted thinking. If you could describe Jeremiah Fink in one word, it would be efficient. Jeremiah Fink is what happens when a TE user is extremely unhealthy. His concepts of morals don't exist. All he cares about is efficiency and monetary gain. And now we'll be returning to the story, since his TE function will play a huge role in it. He killed the Lutesses by destroying the Lutesse device. He was very efficient, since this action got rid of them from that timeline, but it wasn't very effective. That action had consequences, such as accidentally making Lutesses capable of existing across time and multiple dimensions. This would be his downfall. The problem with Fink is that he wants to get work done fast, and he doesn't care how it turns out, since he'll replace workers with other workers who can do it faster and better. Another fascinating example of his TE function can be observed by how he organizes his office and his workplace. Every action he takes is timed. He cannot stand when time is wasted, because he could be doing something productive. This need to be productive is so extreme that he even has a giant clock that is used to control which rooms open at which times in his private quarters. He's a complete control freak, and sadly, this treatment is also extended to his employees. In a way, Fink is a one-dimensional being who only focuses on one aspect of extroverted thinking. Say it with me. Efficiency. His auxiliary function is introverted intuition. Mr. Fink is an example of an NI user with a rotten core. He uses this function to understand people's intentions so he can further control them like the puppets he perceives them to be. And we can see this within his actions and speeches towards his workers. Fink actively discourages his employees from being self-sufficient and ambitious, since being ambitious is too much work. And why would you want to work harder than you're already working?
And why would you want to? Who wants all those responsibilities and worry? You do your job, you eat your food, you go to sleep. Simplicity is beauty.
He purposely manipulates his workers so he may further exploit them, which is his end goal for every worker that works under his establishment. For him, they're simply tools. One of the best examples of Fink's NI function can be seen in how he predicts Booker will come for Chen Lin, which leads him to capturing him and killing him. But he doesn't just kill him. He manipulates Booker and Elizabeth into thinking that they have a chance of saving Chen Lin, even though he's already dead. Since Fink knows Booker needs Chen Lin to get the First Lady airship to escape Colombia to pay his debts, he figures if he removes Chen Lin from the equation, Booker will have no choice but to work for him.
Do it? You're a lion. But you can't blame me for looking after my own interests, can you?
And if Elizabeth wasn't able to make terrorists into different universes, that would be absolutely true.
Lions walk with lions, do it?
Fink may be obsessed with efficiency and success, as we mentioned in his TE function segment. But he can also think outside the box, and he often does this to achieve his goals. Fink uses terrors to look into alternate realities and takes inspiration from them. This results in him making variations of what he sees, such as vigors, which he saw when he observed Yi Suchang using slugs to extract Adam. Fink copied Suchang's idea and added a twist to it. But due to Fink's need for efficient results, his invention of the vigor was much more costly and 10 times less effective than Suchang's plasmids. And speaking of borrowing ideas, Fink also made a profit by sending his brother to terrors that contain music from the future. They plagiarized songs such as Everyone Wants to Rule the World from Tears for Fears and Happy Shiny People from REM, and tweaked them slightly to match their time period. This borrowing of ideas and innovation eventually got the attention of Suchong, who started to copy off Fink.
Man name of a Fink is no fool. Through addition of oxidizing agent, turns plasmid ingestible through stomach lining. Mr. Ryan very impressed with Suchong's initiative. Theft of intellectual property. Two-way street.
They both indirectly collaborated with each other on inventions such as the songbird, which was based on the Big Daddy, and the idea of imprinting their creations onto desired hosts, which was also influenced by the Big Daddy technology. Fink may have cheated by viewing terrors into the future, but he innovated on the ideas he saw and put them to use in Colombia by improving the lives of their citizens and his wallet.
Now, I know there's been some concern about the nature of the work we do here at Fink Manufacturing. Why, some say they're uncomfortable with the purported harm and suffering our research brings. But friends, let me pose a simple question. Is there anything you would not do to guarantee the health and safety of your loved ones? My interest is the future health of your children. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Our last NI example links back to our first example. Jeremiah Fink pays his employees in Fink coins. Why Fink coins, you ask? Well, of course, it's for controlling them, so they can't buy other products from other establishments. This causes cash flow to always return to Fink, limiting his losses to almost 0%. It's pretty intelligent if you ask me, and equally cutthroat.
You see, the Fink Company store brings you Fink products at a price designed specifically for the Fink worker.
His tertiary function is extroverted sensing. Fink is a unique individual. He both uses and neglects his SE function at the same time. His usage of the function can often be seen within a TESE loop. Our first example takes place at Columbia Day Raffle. To celebrate, Jeremiah Fink sets up a large carnival for the people, filled with attractions based on his company, such as Fink product trails, Fink's music, and Vox Populi shoot-'em-up games. Fink did all this because he understood the power of propaganda and his physical appearance. For Fink, if he makes himself look like a celebrity, more people will buy his products. Our next example can be seen within Fink's surroundings. He's obsessed with beauty. This can be seen in his private office, which contains a giant golden clock, gigantic windows, fancy curtains, and 4 other rooms within it. But that's not all. He also has 2 humongous golden statues of himself in his work district. It is commonly known that SE users are the most sensitive to beauty, thus desire it the most. Our last example occurs when he's interviewing Booker DeWitt for his new job position of head security of Fink Industries. This interview is forced onto Booker, who's confused to why Fink is doing this. Fink retorts by claiming that Booker needs to kill the other applicants if he wants the job. But in reality, Fink just wants to be entertained by Booker's ability to kill others.
Here! I do say I like the kill of your jam!
And lastly, his inferior function is introverted feeling. We're going to be straightforward on this function. Fink only uses the FI function for 2 things: to spread his ideas about how work is hard and how everyone should work as hard as possible, and for his projection of his strong values on which humans are worthy of respect and which ones are used as tools. This is driven by his white supremacist morals and ideals. Fink only hires non-American white people such as the Irish and minorities of all backgrounds. He does this intending to keep everyone underpaid and overworked. He wants to control their lives, since he doesn't see them as human. It's pretty bad, but that's how he functions. Jeremiah Fink represents the extreme values of the 1900s America. He also represents a human that's been stripped away of all morality, thus resulting in Fink only caring for his own personal gain and the thrill of crushing his competition or anyone he deems a risk.
I will get what I want.
These traits can be linked to psychopathy. And that concludes this analysis. He's an ENTJ who may or may not be a psychopath. But wait, there's more! It's time for the Enneagram analysis of Jeremiah Fink. And I am almost 100% sure that his Enneagram is 3. He has all the traits, both good and bad. He's ambitious, he's charismatic, he's self-assured, he's restless, competitive, and attention-seeking. And speaking of attention-seeking, he has golden statues of himself. And to make matters worse, his need for attention is so extreme that he undermines all other establishments. He wants his establishment to be the only establishment, because it's Fink Industries. You're a Fink man. And now we're going to be looking into his wing, and his wing is too. This further promotes his interaction with people. That's where Fink is mostly about. He's about hard work, dedication, but he also puts a lot of his time in people. This is why he's such a great showman. His whole existence depends on him proving himself, and that ties into why he works so hard. He does it so he can feel valued. And that concludes that Jeremiah Fink is a very unhealthy 3-wing 2 that will destroy his competition and manipulate the masses. And that just wraps up this whole analysis. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe, share, and do all those fun things you do on YouTube. Once again, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, evening, or night.